What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Sorority House Massacre. So I've only seen this movie one time before, and the last time or the first time that I saw this movie, I was not a fan. I thought it was pretty darn lame and also very boring. Upon rewatching it, my thoughts have changed a little bit. I'm still not the biggest fan of this movie, but on this viewing, I thought it was just all right. I didn't think it was extremely boring. I thought it moved at a decent pace, and there was there were a couple things going on in the movie that I enjoyed. So yeah, I this was by no means a great slasher movie, but yeah, I thought it was okay. I didn't hate it. Like the first time I watched it, I hated it. I was like, this is a complete waste of time. This is extremely boring. I'll never watch that again. But then, after I watched it again, I was like, you know what? It's not that bad. It's all right. It's okay. So just a disclaimer, most people probably already know this, but in case some people don't know, so this is, related to the Slumber Party Massacre movies. It's in, like, the Slumber Party Massacre movies and the Sorority House Massacre movies are two separate franchises, but they're in this overarching franchise that's like loosely titled the Massacre franchise. So yeah, this is related to the Slumber Party Massacre movies, and just like giving you all this will help you, like, give you perspective. If you're a fan of those movies, I think the first Slumber Party Massacre is leaps and bounds better than Sorority House Massacre. So yeah, even though this movie, watching it this time, I thought this was serviceable. It wasn't terrible. It was all right. It's not on par with the Slumber Party Massacre movies. The Slumber Party Massacre 1 and 2 are much better than Sorority House Massacre. But yeah, there was some decent stuff going on. Like, there was some decent suspense. It really had that 80s slasher feel. The music was pretty good, like the score. The kills were okay. There was like no variety with the kills. It was just people getting stabbed, but there weren't, you did see a little bit of gore and violence. The kills weren't just cutaways. So that was okay. But overall, the movie was kind of generic. And a big gripe that a lot of people have with this movie is that it's kind of a Halloween ripoff, which it is. But I mean, that really didn't, like, bother me. I don't know, just like just the more of the fact that it was just kind of generic and it wasn't as fun as the Slumber Party Massacre movies. That's kind of what what just what made me think it was all right, but didn't get me to the point where I really like this movie. But anyways, before I ramble on too long, let me give you all a little plot summary. So you have this young woman, Beth. She's in college, and she just joined a sorority, and she's having a good time. But then she starts having all these crazy nightmares and visions of this serial killer. And the reason she is having these visions is because this serial killer is actually her brother, and her brother killed her entire family except her when she was a toddler, and she was too young to remember, and also she kind of like repressed the memory. So she doesn't recall that her brother, that this person that she's having nightmares and visions of is her brother. And she goes to this sorority house, which actually used to be her old family home where the murders took place, but she doesn't realize that right away. And her brother and her have this psychic connection between them. So her brother's locked up in this mental hospital, and once she, goes to the sorority house, her brother has this like psychic connection with their, old family home, and he senses that she's there, and he breaks out of the mental institution and pursues her, tries to kill her, and kills anyone who stands in his way. So that is the basic plot summary. So, I mentioned that this movie borrows a lot of stuff from Halloween. So I'm gonna get into that. You got the killer in this. He's very similar to Michael Myers. He's mainly mute for the entire movie. I believe he says one or two words in the entire movie. He's mute. He's locked up at this mental institution. He escapes, and then when he escapes, the way that he acquires his murder weapon is very similar to the first Halloween. He in this movie, the killer, who's named Bobby, he like breaks into this hardware store and steals a knife. That's very reminiscent of the first Halloween when, Michael Myers, to get all his supplies, to get his mask and rope and all his weapons, he breaks into a hardware store. So, that's a connection right there. And then you have the whole brother family angle, which I know that's not a part of the first Halloween movie. In the 1978 original Halloween, there's no connection between Laurie and Michael, but in Halloween 2, which did come out before this, they introduced the brother-sister angle. So this has that brother-sister angle, and once the killer Bobby realizes that he has another living family member, he's like, I gotta go kill her, which is pretty. I thought that was kind of funny. Like, he doesn't say I gotta go kill her, but it's like right when he realizes he has a living family member, he's on this mission to kill her. And even though Halloween 4 came out after Sorority House Massacre, that really reminded me of Halloween 4 when Michael Myers realizes that he has a living relative, and then he just like wakes up and he's like, I gotta go kill her. I gotta start killing these fools who are in my way. I gotta go kill her. So, yeah, a lot of the elements of the story are reminiscent of Halloween, and even, like I said, Halloween sequels that came after, and the psychic connection is kind of reminiscent of Halloween 5, where Jamie and Michael have this psychic connection. So that's kind of weird, actually, to think about that. This movie this movie came out in 1986, and it was borrowing from Halloween 1 and 2, which came before it. But then, like, if you watch it nowadays, it has like a lot of elements of, from other Halloween movies that came out after it, like Halloween 4 and 5 from 1988 and 1989. So yeah, this movie is very, very reminiscent of Halloween and of a lot of Halloween sequels. And in addition to the brother/family angle and like the hardware store scene, there's this, they actually like straight jacked an entire scene straight from the first Halloween movie. Like, Okay, so in the first Halloween movie, there's that whole scene where Laurie's in class and they're talking about fate, and she sees Michael Myers outside the window. There's a scene in this where the main character Beth is in class, and it's a psychology class, and I forgot exactly what they're talking about, but I think they were either talking about like dreams or deja vu, and then she sees Bobby like outside of the window. It's like the same, like shot for shot, pretty much the same scene as that scene in the first Halloween, except instead of talking about fate, they're talking about like dreams or something. So I thought that was really funny, and some people probably hate the fact that this is so reminiscent of Halloween, but I thought it was kind of funny. I just like the filmmakers just they didn't care. They're just like F it. We're just gonna totally rip off Halloween, but we're gonna change it enough where we could argue that, hey, oh no, this is totally different. Was our own idea, which happens a lot in media. It kind of reminds me of like the whole Vanilla Ice thing where he's like, no, it's not under pressure. My song goes doom 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 doom, and that song is doom 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 doom. So this is different. This scene, this is not the same scene as Halloween. We're not talking about fate here. We're actually, this is a psychology class. It's not an English class. And instead of talking about fate, we're talking about dreams. So it's totally different. It's merely coincidental that the killer happens to be outside of the classroom as well. We've never even seen a Halloween movie. We've never even seen the first Halloween. We don't even know what you're talking about. So yeah, I thought it was kind of funny, and I actually did kind of like some of the stuff that they ripped from Halloween. Like all the scenes inside the mental hospital, I liked. When Bobby's escaping the mental hospital, that was cool. The hardware store scene, I actually really liked too. So some of my favorite stuff in the movie was the stuff that they ripped from Halloween. So it didn't really bother me. But speaking of the mental hospital, I thought it was so funny. The way that like how easy it was for Bobby to escape. It was extremely easy, and they were like the people who were working there just had no like situational awareness. Like they were not on tip. They were not worried about, they have this dangerous person who killed a bunch of people, and then they're just like, like whatever, like let's just like they're not like scared to be around them. They're not like watching their back. But something that I was thinking of was like, what's up with all these movies where someone is like a mass murderer, kills a bunch of people, and they just lock them in a low security mental hospital? Like, wouldn't they throw this fool in jail? He's an adult, like, and he killed his entire family. I mean, even if you kill one person, even if you don't kill a person, even if you stab someone, if you get caught with too much weed, they throw you in jail. Like, you could get thrown in jail for way lesser offenses, and then this fool is just in a mental hospital. Like, that's what I don't know. I was just shaking my head. I'm like, why is this fool not in jail? But anyways, the escape was so easy. Like whenever there's doctors in the room with him, he's not like handcuffed, and they're just getting close to him. They're not worried. And this guy delivers him his food. He's just like, he has his headphones on. He turns his back to him. I mean, I would personally would be scared. I would like not take my eye off that guy, and like, what, usually in a jail cell you have like bars, and you have like a little slot where you could slip the food through. Like they had to open the door just to deliver him his dinner. Like, why was that? Just like cut a hole in the door and slip him his food, but yeah, I didn't get it. Like, it was just so easy for him to escape, and he just like hopped the fence, and it was so easy. It was like an 8-foot fence. He just climbed it easily. There was no barbed wire on the fence. Like, okay, it was already crazy the fact that he wasn't in jail and he was in this low security mental hospital. But then, um, you know, like they weren't watching him at all. Like they didn't, maybe they didn't have other dangerous patients, but once they got this dangerous patient, you would think they would like modify some stuff, like maybe put some barbed wire on the fence, maybe put a little slot in the door to just slip him his meal so we don't have to open the entire door so he could easily escape. Like this fool escaped so easily, and I just thought that was it was kind of funny, and I was like just thinking about that a lot. And then I have like one more point that I want to talk about, and then I'm gonna head out here. So all the girls in the sorority, they're like by themselves for a weekend, and they immediately raid the refrigerator and just like eat up all the ice cream, which I mean that was awesome, like mad respect. They just all like are just smashing a pint of ice cream. They each have like a pint of ice cream, and they got like bags of chips going on. They're just straight smashing, and then immediately after, smashing on some delicious ice cream, they go raid the liquor cabinet. So, they already had my respect when they, stole all their housemates' ice cream and were just eating copious amounts of it. Like, they had already gained my respect. But then they proceed to raid the liquor cabinet. I'm like, yo, did we just become best friends? Like, these girls rule, in my opinion. And something that was interesting that they touched on is like they were going through the liquor cabinet and choosing which type of liquor they were gonna have. And the one girl's a psychology major, and she was talking about like the different types of liquor, the different types of alcohol will have a different effect on you. She's like, gin is more introspective, and I forgot what she said about the other ones, but that just made me think, like, is that a thing? Like, I've heard of different types of alcohol giving you a different hangover. I've heard like red wine gives you a bad hangover, or more alcohols that are more sugary give you a bad hangover. But I didn't know that alcohol was similar to like something like marijuana, where like different strains of marijuana will give you a different effect. Like, I didn't know that. Like, is that a real thing where different types of alcohol give you a slightly different buzz or a slightly different experience? Because if that is the case, that's pretty darn cool, and I want to look into that. Like, I mean, I don't want any. If gin makes you introspective, I don't want that. I like stuff that, like, I like the thing that I like about drinking is it makes you kind of like eases your anxiety, and you're like less introspective. You're just like whatever. Like, you're not worried about everything. You're just like kind of more chill and in the moment. So I don't know. I thought that was it was cool, the fact just that they were eating pints of ice cream that they stole, and they were drinking copious amounts of liquor that they stole. That was cool in and of itself. But it was also cool like that one girl who's a psychology major talked about like the different liquors having different effects. So if that is the case, I'm gonna look into that, and I'm gonna dibble dabble with all kinds of different stuff. I'm gonna craft the perfect buzz. Just kidding. That sounds like a lot of work, and I don't have time for all that. But I definitely am gonna look into that because I thought that was interesting. But anyways, that was the last point I wanted to get into. So now I'm gonna give my recommendation and head out here. So like I said, this movie, it was kind of generic. It wasn't like a standout slasher film, but overall I thought it was okay, and I didn't hate it by any means. So in terms of a recommendation, I would say unless you are a fan of the Slumber Party Massacre movies, I would say skip this. You know, it's not bad, but it's kind of generic. It's not really worth your time unless you want to be a completist and watch, you know, all the Slumber Party Massacre movies, all the Sorority House Massacre movies, and all the, you know, Cheerleader Massacre movies. And yeah, unless you're a hardcore Slumber Party Massacre fan and want to see every movie in the Massacre franchise, I would say skip it. It's not bad, but it is pretty generic, and there's not that much going for it, and there's not that much fun to be had. And even if you haven't seen any of the Slumber Party Massacre movies, you would be better off checking out those or the first Slumber Party Massacre as opposed to checking out this. So yeah, Sorority House Massacre, I would not really recommend it, like I said, unless you're a huge Slumber Party Massacre fan. But anyways, that's my recommendation. That's my review of Sorority House Massacre. Thank you all very much for watching, and peace out.